Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Bonney, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Wednesday, May 8th. A win is a win. Yesterday during regular trading, the Dow clocked its fifth winning day in a row by just 31 points or 0.08%. It was a mixed but close to flat day on Wall Street across the board. The S&P 500 added 6 points or 0.13%. The Nasdaq closed in the red, giving up 16 points or 0.1%. Bill, let's get into Wednesday's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes. Good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. The S&Ps are down about 0.2% this morning. Not entirely, strange for today. Remember, this is a very flat week for the markets. There's not a lot of economic data coming out, and the number of really big name companies coming out with earnings. And you got more next week. This week it's a little lighter. But the market's really looking for a catalyst to create some volatility this morning. Now, the earnings reports that, continue to be a factor behind the market move. I mean, we did get positive earnings last night from Arista Networks, from Wynn Resorts and Reddit, which is all good. And looking ahead to next week, we got Walmart and Home Depot as they're scheduled to report. One of the key factors going on, I think, today is like President Biden's in Wisconsin. He's going to be talking up a Microsoft data center. Another thing out there is that he's revoking, the White House administration is revoking export licenses on chip sales to Huawei in China. That's not positive for some of these chip stocks. But it's nothing that we weren't really shocked about. But we're looking overseas. The DAX is up, 0.3%. It was up about 1% earlier, but it's still trading higher, about up 56 points this morning. So that's nice to see. It's had some nice earnings report because Siemens Energy and Puma and Henkel all came out with good earnings. The FTSE up 23 points or 0.28%. You got a monetary policy decision coming out from the Bank of England today. It's not supposed to be any change, but I will say Sweden did lower their interest rates. So you see that it started to happen. Some of the richer companies in Europe are starting to lower interest rates to help support their economy. So once it starts to get a hold, you can see a rate cut by the ECB coming up in June. It really supports that theory. Looking at the CAC. CAC is up 0.8%. That's nice and positive. We're looking at last night in Asia. Asia saw weakness. We saw the Nikkei drop 632 points. A lot of the big name firms, some of the major firms, came out with weaker than expected earnings, and that kind of dampened the market sentiment. Okay, Hong Kong fell about 0.9%. Shanghai fell about 0.6%. The markets are kind of looking forward to the upcoming trade figures that are due out tomorrow out of China. And then next week, or over the weekend, you get the CPI and PPI data coming out over the weekend out of China. And the market's a little bit cautious about that. So I'm not surprised to see a little weakness going into that, into those two events. Then we also got to talk oil, because oil, oil's down over 1% this morning. WTI is at $77.37 a barrel. We got Brent is at $82.11 a barrel. Last night we got the API oil stockpiles report. It showed another build, about a half million, 0.509 million barrels a build. The estimates were calling for a draw of 1.43 million. So, that's a big turnaround. So, when you're doing builds in inventory, that's negative, that's bearish on oil prices. And then this morning, Russia's Deputy Prime Minister Novak, he indicated OPEC could be considering increasing the production cuts. He comes out with these startling statements all the time, and Russia is always, at odds with OPEC. I'm surprised they're still like a partner, but that'll continue, but I think OPEC's just going to really push forward the production cuts that they have on the table when they meet on June 1st. But oil, down over 1% this morning. It looks like that's going to help inflation. So we'll have to see what happens where oil closes today. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report, Emily.
And Bill, on what is a week where we said it's sort of, void of major catalysts, you're still sifting through all of that information. That is plenty to be watching on any given morning. And you're also keeping track of the other details on the day. Even if earnings action has slowed, you're still keeping track of those that have released and upcoming. And you're keeping track of the economic events, reports, Fed speak, and all sorts of other types of market moving data and information. And we're going to get through all of that on today's show. We're going to first turn it to earnings action here. Bill, what is going on there?
Let's start off with Arista Networks, aimed at Apple, Nancy, Edward, Tom. These guys delivered a beat of 15 cents on higher revenue. You look at that stock this morning, Arista Networks is up 6.43%. Wow, nice. McKesson, ticker MCK. Listen, they missed by 16 cents on lower revenue. Stocks trading lower by only 1.91%. I think it'll go lower than that, but we'll see. TWLO, Twillo, they beat by 21 cents and they did it on higher revenue. You look at the stock this morning, it's down 7.6%. Then you talk in the shares of Lyft, ticker LYFT, Larry, Yellow, Frank, Tom. They missed by 11 cents, but they did it on higher revenue. Stock's up 4.22% this morning. Upcoming after the bell, we got ARM Holdings, ticker ARM, Apple Richard Mary. Their EPS is 30 cents. Expected move is 11.21%. We got ABNB, Apple Boy, Nancy Boy. That's Airbnb. EPS is 26 cents. Expected move is 8.08%. Then you have the trade desk, ticker TTD. This is a big one. Tom David. Their EPS is 22 cents. Expected move is 11.51% when they release this afternoon. Emily.
And now we're going to get to the economic events of the day. This does include some Fed speak to keep an eye on. So, Bill, give us a rundown of what we should be watching when it comes to economic events.
Well, today's an interesting day. The fact is that there's not a whole lot of economic reports, hitting the tape. What we do have is the EIA oil stockpiles reports. These are the official stockpile reports. Before we had the estimates, these are the official data from the EIA. Comes out 10:30 a.m. This is a market moving report. The API and the EIA don't necessarily correspond well with one another. The API is just not as accurate. It's pretty clear. In terms of Fed speak, we're loaded up on Fed speak this morning. 11 a.m. we're going to be hearing from Vice Chair Philip Jefferson. 11:45 we're going to be hearing from Boston Fed Bank President Susan Collins, and then at 1:30 p.m. we're going to be hearing from Fed Governor Lisa Cook. In yesterday's Fed speak, we did hear from Neil Kashkari, and he spoke at the Milken Institute yesterday, which was having a conference. And he said that he cannot rule out that the Fed's next move won't be a rate cut, or won't be a rate hike, excuse me. That's kind of concerning, but he said that the bar is pretty high for that to happen. Inflation would need to be shown signs of being entrenched. And, with oil prices coming down, I don't see that really happening. Remember he penciled in 2 rate cuts for this year. He said he's not sure how many he'll pencil in when the June dot plot comes in, but I still think we're going to have at least 2 rate cuts this year. But that's what I have for you in terms of economic reports happening today, Emily.
Bill, keeping track of all of that, that earnings action, those economic events, and Fed speak using your NewsWare. You have alerts set up for those so you can see that information as it hits the tape. You're also gathering other types of data and information, news coming out of things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, other catalysts. You can look at different sectors and segments. You can look at stocks grouped together, like your FANG stocks, your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I'm showing 6 unchanged, 15 lower. Rest, I guess, are higher. A little negative. You're looking at your FANG stocks. They're all showing some weakness this morning. That's not good. So yeah, well, it looks like we're going to have a down day today. But you're looking at some of the news behind it, like Apple. Apple's flat to lower this morning, but their iPhone shipments are up about 12% in China in March, according to a report. That's pretty darn good. But it was done on lower. They cut prices. You got to remember, Apple cut prices on those iPhones in China. So, but the result was iPhone shipments jumped. Tesla, I see that Musk proposed the capabilities of its fully self-driving vehicles in China, and it's talking about launching them as robo taxis during his recent visit last week. Talking Dow Jones 30 stocks. Microsoft is planning a $3.3 billion AI investment in Wisconsin. That's that new data center that's Biden will be talking about. We're talking Intel, INTC. Biden administration is revoking those licenses to allow them to sell chips to Hunway. Not good. And Microsoft, again, I mean, they're deploying a generative AI model for U.S. intelligence agencies, I see. In terms of merger news, got to talk IP, International Paper. Stock was rising yesterday on a report of a $15 billion buyout by a Brazilian firm. IP had no comment. In terms of guidance news, Ring Central, RNG, they see Q2 EPS 87 to 88 cents. Street estimate was 85 cents. That's an uptick. Twillo, ticker TWLO, they see Q2 EPS 64 to 68 cents. Street estimate is 62 cents. Okay, Twillo's unchanged right now. Interesting. Um, Arista Networks, ANET, they see Q2 revenue coming in 1.62 to 1.65 billion. Street estimates on the low end 1.62 billion, so that's an uptick. I like that. Then we're talking shareholders meetings. SPG, Simon's Property Group, they're having their annual shareholders meeting. That one's going to start at 8:30 a.m. this morning. AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, they're having a shareholders meeting. Starts at 12 noon. And then that's all I see for shareholders meetings. There is one other big one. Arista, in terms of buyback networks, ANET, Apple, Nancy Edward, Tom, Arista, the network said that they're going to be buying back $1.2 billion worth of stock. Zoom Info, ticker ZI, Zebra India, they said that they're going to be buying back an additional $500 million worth of stock under its share repurchasing agreement. And Electronic Arts, ticker EA, they authorized a new stock buyback program. It's $5 billion over 3 years. So that's pretty big. Then we got catalyst calls. We got to talk Citibank. Citibank opened up a 30-day positive catalyst call on Squared Space, ticker SQSP, Sam Quinton, Sam Paul this morning. That's kind of positive. So I do like that. But that's what I have for you in terms of news in the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what is your pick of the day today?
Going with Instacart, ticker CART, Charlie Apple, Richard Tom. And it's also got another name. I mean, the Maple Bears or something, but they're doing businesses. DBA is Instacart, and ticker symbol CART, Charlie Apple, Richard Tom. I mean, listen, they're releasing earnings after the bell. EPS is 3 cents. Expected move is 10%. Yesterday's call volume, 16,330 versus put volume of 3,801. Wow, that's a big divergence. Then we get the call open interest 65,530 versus 29,663. Nice. Major brokers positive on stock, raising price targets. Like to see that. They hit down that deal that they're doing with Uber Eats. That they announced yesterday. It's kind of positive for them. Where Uber Eats is going to be doing some of their deliveries, for them because they always need delivery drivers. It's good. So yeah, I do think we could see some positive activity in Instacart today. Okay, getting in is kind of like it's a crapshoot today because I do think we're going to have a lower opening. Stocks at 37, bid offer 36.92 to 37.15. So 36.50 is really kind of my entry point. Definitely under 37. So if I can get in there, I think we're going to see a pull out again because the stock will, run a little hotter as we get closer to the close. So think 36.50 as an entry point, and that should be safe. Probably not going to hold it into earnings because, there's no benefit. If I get that 1% during the day, take it, walk away. That's what I've been doing. And, even with good earnings, stocks aren't really rallying unless they hit every data point and exceed them. So you got to be real careful here in this market. But that's my pick of the day. Instacart, ticker CART, Charlie Apple, Richard Tom, Emily.
I was shopping Instacart this morning, and as you mentioned, taking that win when you see it ahead of earnings. And speaking of shopping, coming up, we're going to do a recap of yesterday's pick of the day, which was also a digital shopping platform. So stick with us to get the recap on that. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
We'll start off with Amazon. Microsoft Azure gaining more share, mostly at the expense of Amazon's AWS, according to Jefferies. Oh, Tesla. U.S. prosecutors are examining whether Tesla committed securities fraud, wire fraud, and criminal probe of self-driving claims. Oh, man. They're after him. Intel sees revenue below midpoint of guidance range after U.S. revokes China export licenses. Mastercraft Boats, ticker MCFT, Michael, Charlie, Frank, Tom, they're revising their guidance reflecting planned decrease in production. Ooh, not good. Trimble, ticker TRMB, Tom, Richard, Michael Boy, they're acquiring Flash Track, terms not disclosed. RNA, they get FDA breakthrough therapy designation. Okay. A FedEx employee, Boeing's cargo plane landed at the Istanbul airport on Wednesday without its landing gear deployed and managed to stay on the runway. Meta Platform said yesterday that it's expanding its suite of generative AI ad products to offer tools that will automatically create variations of images and overlay text at the top of them. That's nice. That's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we dive into trading on this Wednesday, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day, which was Shopify. They did release earnings this morning. The company posted a net loss of $273 million or 21 cents a share, and that was compared with a profit of $68 million or 5 cents a share in the comparable quarter a year ago. Revenue came in at $1.686 billion, and that was actually ahead of analyst forecasts of $1.84 billion. The company did say the revenue would have been up 29% if not for last year's sale of its logistics business. In terms of looking ahead, Shopify sees Q2 revenue up at high teens percentage year over year. The consensus there was $2.03 billion. Now, this would mark the slowest revenue growth in 2 years. You know, traders are not loving this stock this morning. It is down big, but Bill, you told us yesterday you're trading it ahead of earnings. If you saw your gain, you were going to take it and walk away. Did you do it? How did your call work out?
Fabulous. I mean, listen, what happened with the earnings? Don't care. You can go all in out about it, but the fact of the matter is, I'm already out. Because I'm not setting my starts. I'm not, I'm trying to do consistent gains. And that's what I do. When you go for these home runs, typically wind up overall losing. So it's better just to take small, consistent 1% gains daily, and then just keep adding to the piggy bank. You check out the numbers. I mean, the stock opened up at $76.53. And I said, 76, 70, 76 to 76.50. And soon after it opened up at 76.53, it fell. It fell down, to like 75 something. But then it quickly recovered and the stock shot up to 77.83, which is more than the 1%, which is what we were shooting for. So yeah, that beat the 1% goal. So, take it, walk away, call it a day. Don't don't hold your breath in the stress that you have into earnings. When stocks aren't, when you buy them cheap like that, bam, you get opportunities. So Shopify, big winner yesterday, good winner.
A good winner ahead of the drop this morning, taking that win when you see it. And we will check in with you tomorrow about today's Instacart pick of the day if you employ that strategy again. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Bonney, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.